right, everybody, welcome back to Star Wars Talk. So let's get right into the theories that are coming out of The Force Awakens. So, for the first couple of weeks, I will do this as a courtesy, but spoilers, 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 spoilers. If you have not seen The Force Awakens, if you are one of the 5 people left in the United States that has not seen the movie, I highly suggest stopping at this point if you don't want to be spoiled, although at this point everything is out there. So, but anyway, for the next couple of weeks, at least until we get out of, within a month of the release, I will be courteous enough to let you know verbally that we have spoilers in this discussion. So, be warned. Listen no further if you have not seen the movie. Come back, add it to your favorites, come back and listen afterwards, and let's talk about the Han theory. Okay, so hopefully those that needed to dropped. If not, I'm going to continue on. So the big thing that happens in this is, of course, Han Solo being killed. And pretty much from the moment that I got out of the theater, it occurred to me, the same theory that is out there that people are latching on to. Is Han Solo really dead? And I had pretty much immediately said, well, yes. For every reason that I said that he was going to be killed, I reassured myself, of course he's dead. He got stabbed in the stomach, fell down a pit, and then the planet blew up not long after that. So, yeah, he's dead. So, the theory is that he's not really dead. And that is that he, just like Luke, sustained a serious injury, fell down, found an air vent or a shaft down below, and coasted to a stop, and maybe hobbled his way out somewhere and escaped somehow off the planet. So, again, I would say with 75% certainty that I do not think that that is the case. If you go back and watch my video on who lives and who dies, or who I think is going to live and die, which I got every single one of them right with the exception of Hux and Chewbacca. I thought Chewbacca would share the same fate as Han. But if you go back and watch that video, I explained very clearly that I think Harrison Ford was done. I think he did not want to play this character more than, I think that was one of his conditions, was that I'll do this movie, but A, I want a buttload of money, and B, I want you to kill me off so I don't have to do another one. That is probably word for word what he sat down and said with Disney. And I'm sure Disney, when they handed off the screenplay to everybody else, said, okay, you can write whatever you want, you can have fun with it, but Han's got to die. That's a condition of Harrison coming on board. I really do think that that is the case. I think J.J. did the death in a manner so that you could speculate as to whether or not Han possibly survived it. So let's give the theory this much credence. Is it possible that he survived? Yes. Yes, it is possible. In the Star Wars world, it is 100% possible. Luke lost an arm and dove down a shaft that was just as big and long. Should have killed him. It didn't kill him. So it is possible, if that room is anything like where Luke fell, that there could be something down there that caught him. You got to remember that he was not, and despite whatever you look, I've seen that movie 3 times, he did not get stabbed in the chest, he got stabbed in the stomach. If he had been stabbed in the chest, his heart would have exploded and he would have died immediately. He was still alive as he pulled the blade out of him. He got stabbed in the stomach. So therefore, he would not have died immediately from the stab wound. He was still alive as he fell. So as he fell down the shaft, he was very much still alive. he could very easily have survived the fall. Now, in terms of that, at that point, though, where does he go? There's not like there is another Millennium Falcon down there, like with Luke, to scoop him up. Because remember, had Luke not had Leia been able to communicate with Leia, he would have been recaptured, and that fall would have been for nothing, because then he would have been brought back immediately to Darth Vader. So there, Luke got lucky that he was able to get in touch with Leia, who came and saved him. Han obviously did not get in touch with anybody. He is not force sensitive. He had no ability to communicate with anybody. He was severely wounded. And if he even was at the bottom of that pit, how did he escape? Where would he have escaped to? What did he do? I mean, it's not as though he could just hide the large stab wound in his stomach and stow away on one of the escape ships. But it's possible. It is possible. I will say that there is a possibility of Han still being alive. I will give the theory this much more credence as well. It would make a lot more sense as to why Leia reacted the way she did. I was very bothered by how Leia reacted, because I would think, given the way she fell to pieces in The Empire Strikes Back at just the thought of Han possibly dying, I would think that actually feeling him die would have caused her a lot more pain than what it did. So I think her reaction makes more sense if she knows, oh, hang on, he's still alive, he's still there, okay, he's escaped. And she just doesn't communicate that to anybody else. But again, why? We don't know. So the other thing that compounds this theory is that supposedly, and I haven't seen anything confirmed from Disney by this, it's just speculation, it's just, I think, some reports based on a statement that Kathleen Kennedy made. But supposedly, Harrison Ford has confirmed or agreed to come back for the next movie in some capacity as a flashback. Now, if Harrison Ford agrees to come back for the next movie, I will tell you now, the second I see that Harrison Ford will appear in the next movie, I am scaling my theory that he survived. I'm going to switch those odds very quickly. I do agree that it's possible. My brother and I were talking about this as we came out of the theater. You don't see him lay there and physically stop breathing and die. I think if they wanted to do it that way, he could have just fallen straight to his knees, and you could have watched the life drain out of Han Solo's eyes and him die. And if they had done it that way, the same way we watched Vader die, we could have watched it happen, and I think it would have been a much more emotional, much more powerful death. So, and I think even JJ would agree with that. So why would he make it so dramatic with him falling out of sight unless there was a twist that he was going to have happen? And I definitely could see that it certainly is a distinctive possibility, and I do give it a 25% chance of happening. I think, however, it's unlikely that it happens for the reasons that I said. I don't think Harrison wants to do another movie. I think if he signs on to do anything, it might be just to appear as, I don't know, some type of, hopefully not a ghost. He couldn't really be a Force ghost, but he might just have a small appearance in the movie for some reason or another. But I don't think it will be as, I don't think it will be as a living Han Solo. But again, anything is possible with this movie. I definitely think that there is something mysterious about the way Han died and what all happened there. I think there's more to it. I think, now whether or not Han's still alive is another thing, but they very clearly did pass the torch of who's going to be with Chewie, who's going to be the new captain of the Millennium Falcon, and that is Rey. I kind of thought it was going to be Finn or Poe Dameron going into the movie, and it looks like Rey is going to have the Falcon, and she has Chewie. And so there's been a clear passing there. Now, if Han comes back into the movie, it's probably not going to be, obviously, it won't be at the capacity as he has been before. He's not going to be with Chewie. He's not going to have his Millennium Falcon. He's not going to be doing the same things that he did. And that, I think, is the biggest thing. I think Han, once he failed, even though he quite literally got his chest ripped out by his son, I would think that Leia would have sensed him, would have gotten him rescued, and we would have found out in some capacity or another that he was still alive. Now, I don't know that that's the case. We don't know that that's the case because there's a lot of things that could have happened that just weren't described. And J.J. Abrams did a great job in the movie of leaving so many things open-ended for us to kind of talk about and theorize about. I think there's something to this Han Solo theory. I don't know if it'll be that he's alive, but I think that there's more to it. I think more happened there. That moment is going to be bigger in the next movie for one capacity or another. The other theory is that Han and it relates to the Han Solo theory of him still being alive, is that Han Solo had an understanding, like clear understanding with Kylo Ren, that Kylo Ren is trying to get onto Snoke's good side, and basically they forged his death between the two of them in a silent moment between the two of them. And Han understood, okay, I'm not dead, he didn't kill me, but obviously he wants me out of the way, and so he fell on purpose to the side and disappeared on purpose so that way everybody thinks he's dead, so that Kylo gets in even better with Snoke because he's going to be a double agent. Yeah, I think that's a great story plot twist. There's not a lot of evidence at all to support that. Kylo seems conflicted about going back to the light side, but he's very violent, he's very volatile, and he was aiming to kill every single time. He killed Max von Sydow at the beginning of the movie. He killed his father. He stabbed him. He's always trying to kill. He's always very violent. He's always very volatile. He tortures. He maims. He hurts. I think that everything about his character is that I don't necessarily think he's a double agent. I think he can be redeemed if two things that have to happen for Kylo to be redeemed. Number one, he needs to develop. Right now, the character is very conflicted. So Kylo has to develop. And then the second thing is, in order to truly be redeemed, Han is going to have to come back in some capacity or another for some level of forgiveness. There has to be that moment where he really feels what he did. But I think that is going to be the next two movies, is trying to... Leia is going to go from trying to find Luke to trying to redeem her son, trying to bring him back. And so that's going to be the next thing in the movie. But really, this thing is left to go in so many different directions. But I did want to talk about the Han Solo theory. What do you guys think? Do you think Han is really dead? And again, don't give me the obvious comments. I've already stated that. Yes, he got stabbed in the stomach, and he fell down a shaft. And then the planet blew up it's really tough to tell time there, but at least 20 or 30 minutes later, the planet blew up. Plenty of time, technically, if he did survive the fall, to crawl into some type of container and stow away as they're evacuating the facility. So there is time technically for him to find something. You got a good 20 minutes. Kylo had to make his way outside and head them off at the Falcon, and that was probably a pretty good hike. So I think there's enough time for him to survive. I do think it's going to be very difficult for a man of his age to survive, but I think it's certainly possible. I don't think there is anybody who can make a good argument that it is completely, in the Star Wars world, impossible for Han to have survived what happened to him. But I think it's highly unlikely, and given what we know about Harrison Ford and what his feelings are about Star Wars, he's trying to put this behind him and move forward, and so he's gone. They're leaving. Again, if that is the case, I still will have issues with the way his death was done. As I stated in my review, I will have issues with the way his death was done. I think it could have been more emotional, more powerful. I think actually seeing the light drain from his eyes would have been much more powerful than watching him fall down a pit. So there is that right there. And I think any storyteller like J.J. Abrams will tell you, watching someone die versus, close up versus watching someone die from afar, there's no comparison as to which one's more powerful. And if you really wanted to let that moment gravitate, it wouldn't have been over so quickly. I mean, from the time he stabs him in the chest to when he tips over is maybe 15 seconds of screen time. So he could have drawn that out another minute or two before, maybe not a minute, but at least a minute. At least a minute. He could have drawn that out a minute. There could have been a more deeper connection between Kylo and Han as he died. Han could have had some really cool last words. So I think all of those things there lead to the fact that J.J. did not want to completely kill the character in terms of, is there no possible way for him to come back? I think he left the door open for Harrison Ford to change his mind. Now, we'll see if that happens. It does look like Harrison Ford had the time of his life making this movie, and maybe that surprised him. I also think that he's going to really enjoy his fat $30 million paycheck that he's going to get from this movie. As everybody saw, he made $30 million. So, both, all of the original cast and all of the new cast all got paid a lot less so that Harrison would come back and be in this movie. And I think, again, that was all planned by Harrison, and he did a great job. And kudos to him for getting that money. But in terms of whether or not he'd want to come back and do it again, I don't think that's what he wanted originally, but it's certainly possible that Disney comes to him and says, it seems like you had a good time. Do you want to keep going with this? And he may say, you know what? Yeah, why not? Let's at least do one more, and then maybe you get a real death scene in the next movie where he actually dies. But, again, I leave it open as possible. That's why I give it the 25% chance. I don't think it's likely. Anyway, that's it, guys. Take it easy. Have a good one. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Keep listening. Please like, please comment, please share. Take care.